No. Not just yet. I got to introduce them all. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our third week of Virtually Starlight, coming to you live in your own home with a non-opening roof. So, welcome. We are very excited. We're going to go right into it. As you know, coronavirus took out our season, so we're putting all these things online. We're doing all this cool stuff, and it is super cool. If you can at all, if you can find it in your hearts and you have the ability, please go ahead and see if you can donate anything to rvcdonate.com. Help us out greatly. Tonight, we are doing Joe Knows. Now, we're going to do this a touch differently than last time. I'm going to introduce Joe and our special guest tonight. And then I'm going to take off because you don't want to see me anymore. You just want to see Joe talk to his good old friends, right? So I'm going to go ahead and bring in our host for this evening, a man who needs no introductions, the brains of the operation, a man who has done Starlight in the past and then went on to tour with both Full Monty and Kinky Boots and has been in all the cool stuff you see on TV. The man, the myth, the legend, Joe Coots, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Starlight buddies. Hello, Christopher Brady.
What's
Man,
going
that
on?
stash gets better every week. That's a beautiful.
That's because it keeps on growing, my good man. Yeah.
Gorgeous. I'm a little nervous. I got to admit that I'm going to be doing this with just me and my good buddy Milton Craig Nealy without you. But, you're right. People are probably tired of looking at you. So I never get tired of looking at you.
Joe.
Yes.
We're so excited. When we first talked about this whole thing, you talked about, hey, listen, I know a ton of different people. And you really have, you brought out just an A-list of people, including our guest tonight.
He's probably the A-list of all the A-listers. Does that make sense?
Certainly is. Someone that Joe is very intimate with because of the show they did together.
Yes. Milton Craig Nealy, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's a real treat, and I'm really excited we were able to get him on. He's a dear, dear friend of mine. He's probably, when he comes on, he can correct me, but I think he's been in 6 OBCs. OBCs means the original Broadway cast. from Once on This Island to, he just did Motown, bunch of them. But most importantly, he was in the original cast of DreamGirls. And I think it's pretty neat that we were able to get him, because was DreamGirls supposed to be happening this week?
DreamGirls was actually, everything got pushed back a week.
Okay.
So DreamGirls actually should have happened last week, but totally cool anyway.
But we also, Milton and I have had the pleasure of, us two are probably done Full Monty, more performances of the Full Monty than anybody in history of the show. And because of our characters, Dave and Horse, most of the time we would share the same dressing room. And it was just an honor to sit with him and just listen to him and learn and listen to his stories from DreamGirls and every other thing he's been in. And he's one of the most constant professionals, and I'm honored to be good friends with him.
Well, that is a perfect introduction. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on, because this is what this evening's about. Guys, this guy is a Broadway legend. In the original Broadway cast of Once on This Island, DreamGirls, I believe, Five Guys Named Moe, everything I grew up listening to for sure. The one and only Milton Craig Nealy, everybody. Woo!
Hello, everybody.
Milton.
We're working on right.
Uncle Milty. My man.
I'm going to start out with just, it's an honor that you are here. As I told you backstage, I've been listening to you for some time. This guy was Agwe, correct?
Yes. One of the originals now. The original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Singing Rain on Broadway, Once on This Island, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
Let me ask you real quick. Have you seen the revival? Did you see the revival of Once on This Island?
I did. It was wonderful. I was a bit nervous because I had heard lots of things about it with live animals and things like that. And I thought, oh boy. And I saw it and fell in love with it. It was absolutely wonderful.
Oh, I thought it was one of the most brilliant pieces I've seen in some time. It was excellent.
I agree. Yeah.
So we had Joe invite you on because we are doing DreamGirls.
Yes, I hear.
Who knows DreamGirls better than you?
Now, let me ask you one question before we get started. Obviously, Joe was going to play the part of Effie. Yeah?
Yeah.
Actually, we were gonna surprise you tonight. Joe was gonna sing "I'm Telling You."
Yeah.
Joe, take it away.
And you.
Believe me, he could do it. I know that he could.
I can do anything.
And in Five Guys Named Moe, you were Four-Eyed Moe, correct?
Yes, Four-Eyed Moe. Yes.
So, did you sing "Push Capiche Capai"? Is that you?
Well, yeah, we all did. I mean, that was the closing of the first act. But I think Four-Eyed Moe started the song, and I think kind of kept it going. But I think we all, if I'm not mistaken, I can't. It's terrible. You get old and you forget things. But yeah, I think Four-Eyed Moe started the song, and then I think all the other Moes chimed in. They all went out into the house, and Four-Eyed Moe stayed on stage and kind of directed traffic. We had audience members coming up and all things, paper falling from the ceiling, and people. Little Moe was on the top balcony, whatever that was, in whatever theater we were in. Big Moe was on the orchestra. They were all over the place. So I was kind of like the, director of the whole thing. But it was a great show. But one of my solos in Five Guys Named Moe was a song called Agité in the first act, ballad, which is a beautiful tune that I loved singing every night.
Sorry, I didn't like my lights. I had to switch.
Fun. That's okay. Fun show. Never do it again.
Why not?
Why?
I'll let you. I'll let you talk to my knees about that show. No, I mean, I would do it in a heartbeat, but I could not do that choreography again. It was a killer. I mean, it killed us when we were doing it. I mean, there was a step for every word of every lyric of every. There was a step. I mean, it was the whole point of the Moes. The Moes were a group, and we did everything together. And so there was a lot of, I mean, there wasn't any ballet or, things like that, but it was rough. A lot of sliding on knees and jumping on
Chris's
tables.
For our fans, with Chris's permission, maybe Chris, you can upload the Tony Awards with Milton and Five Guys Named Moe, and then his partner in life and crime and best friend ever and husband Doug Eskew play Big Mo. So it's a really neat clip. That was from 1990. That's from the Tony Awards, right?
Yeah, it was his big number. Yeah, Caledonia.
Caledonia.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll post that, and so every Starlight people can see it. It's pretty cool. I think it's really
Excellent.
I will.
Excellent.
Hey, I'm gonna take off, but as you guys are talking, catching up, Joe is going to direct you towards DreamGirls for the most part. But we're also going to be putting on. We'll be showing you the questions that some of the people watching right now are asking, and if you feel like it, go ahead and answer some of those questions as well. And then Essence will be joining us a little bit as well to ask you a question. So I'm just going to let you guys catch up, and I'm going to take off. So.
All
hey,
right,
Chris,
Chris.
let me know. We got like 15 minutes left because I can't see the time, and then I'll get into Milton and I doing full Monty.
Yeah. I'll let you know in 2 hours when it's done. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Take care, Chris. Nice talking to you.
All right. So Milton, a lot of our fans don't know you as Milton Craig. Know you as Milton Craig Nealy, but I call him Old Father Time.
Yes.
This guy just does not stop. He's one of the most brilliant professionals and guys I look up to and a mentor my entire career. But I know we sat in the dressing room a bunch and we talked different things about everything, but I was always intrigued about being in the original DreamGirls. And then I saw you guys do it at the Apollo before you left.
Yes.
And then you went on that tour. So maybe just talk about what that was like, the original, and then moving on to coming back and doing it later in your career at the Apollo.
Sure. And
what year was that? First of all, what year was that? The original?
1981.
1981.
The end of 1981. It was December. Well, we opened in December of 1981, right after Christmas. I think the 26th, 27th or something of, if I'm not mistaken. We had been previewing before, but I think the actual opening was like, December 27th or something of 1981. Yeah.
Wow.
They had done many workshops before that I was not involved in. But in fact, I have I think a kind of funny story to when it became DreamGirls, when I got involved. May I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
of course.
I had just gotten back into the city. I had been on a year. I had been away for a year with a tour of Ain't Misbehavin'. I got back into the city and hit the ground running, all the different auditions. There were two big things that all the kids were talking about at the time. And there was this show called The Apollo. It was Just Like Magic, which was going to be directed by George Faison of the Wiz fame, the original Wiz. He won the Tony for the choreography. And George was going to direct that. And this other show called Big Dreams. And my part was for the Apollo. It was Just Like Magic because, first of all, George Faison. At that time, I didn't know Michael Bennett was involved with what was called Big Dreams. And so it was just, everybody was talking about it. I got an audition. So I went to the Apollo audition first and went in, auditioned for that. And I think in the next day or a couple of days, I kind of get the days mixed up, but they were very close to each other. I went to the Big Dreams audition. Okay. And then I got a call back for the Apollo. It was Just Like Magic, which I was ecstatic about. And then I got a call from who ended up he was the company manager. I didn't know all of that at the time. Eric Engelson was his name. And I get a call saying, hello, we're looking for Milton Craig Nealy. I said, yes, this is he speaking. And they said, yes, this is Eric Engelson from DreamGirls, and we'd like to offer you the position of the swing dancer. And I said, I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong number. Yeah. I said, I am Milton Craig Nealy. I said, but I said, no, do you mean the Apollo show? He said, no. I said, the Big Dreams? He said, oh, sorry. He said, we've changed the name. Big Dreams is now called DreamGirls.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I said, are there any men in that show? Because to me, you know, now when you say DreamGirls, of course, what is this, 30-something years later, everybody knows what that show is and is about. Even if you haven't seen it, a lot of people, you know what it's about. But at that time, DreamGirls to me sounded like a Vegas review, you know, with the headdresses and the pretty, you know, girls walking around. DreamGirls, I thought, you know, and I thought, are there any men? You know, what's that about? And he, so when he explained to me that was the show I had auditioned for, Big Dreams, I said, well, I've auditioned for another show and I'm waiting to hear. And he says, well, listen, he said, we just want to offer, we're not getting started right away. He said, but we'd be very happy to have you. And blah, 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 blah. So somehow, I don't remember all the technicalities, but something happened with the Apollo thing and it fell through. And so, of course, I went, you know, this was a Broadway show. And then I found out Michael Bennett was doing it. And so I'm like, Michael Bennett, a chorus line, wait a minute, you know. So this DreamGirls thing must be something, you know, special. So I remember going into the office to sign my contract as a swing dancer. And if any of you don't know what a swing dancer is,
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah. In fact, I ended up covering 14 spots. It was originally supposed to be, well, they told me and I was so green. Now, I had heard the term understudy, but I had never heard of swing dancer. I had just, in my entire life, I had never heard that term. So when he said to me, we want you to cover the male chorus, which were, I think, 8 guys, cover the male chorus, and you'll be swinging and you'll be covering the male chorus. And I used to be a gymnast. So I literally took that to mean when he said you'll be covering the male chorus, swing dancer, I thought that meant that I was going to be doing some kind of aerial work or something, and I was going to be covering the male chorus. Literally.
The guys are dancing, and here's my buddy Baby Milton just covering.
Go swinging over the rope, you know, Josephine Baker style or something. I don't know, you know, with a banana skirt on. I don't know, but I literally thought that's what it was going to be, all the way up until the day that I went to sign the contract in the office, and I happened to run into another cast member who was there at the same time that I was. And I said to him, he said, what are you going to be doing? And I said, well, I'm going to be the swing dancer. I said, and I used to be a gymnast, so now I'm going to have to get back into the gym and start, because I'm going to be, you know, swinging over these guys. And he said, what do you mean swinging over these guys? I said, well, I don't know what it entails, but I know I'm going to have to be up in the air swinging. And he said, he laughed. And then he said, do you know what a swing dancer is? And I said, no, but I'm sure I'm going to be up in the air. And he just fell out on the ground laughing. And he said, no, the swing means that you cover all of the roles of the male ensemble. And I was like, now I had understudied once in my life, one person. This was 8. And I thought, oh boy, it ended up being 14, because in DreamGirls, there are certain numbers that it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. If the big numbers step into the bad side, where a lot of that number was done in what do you call it? Not soliloquy. I lost my silhouette. What do you call silhouette? Thank you. I knew it was an S word. Silhouette. So and we were all, you know, portraying gangsters and things with fedoras and stuff. So the women and the men were dressed in black suits and black fedoras. So that number, we started out with how many cast members? I think there were 33 cast members. and 2 swings, one for the female, Brenda Braxton, Brenda Braxton, Jodo, and myself, and we covered 33 people. Well, not 33. We didn't cover all the principals. I ended up covering 4 of the principal men, which then started to, and some of the women, and it ended up being 14 people by the time I left that show. I ended up covering 14. In fact, I was on opening night because a guy, we did our out of town tryouts in Boston, and the last night of Boston, I was sitting in the house watching the show, and one of the guys during one of the numbers came down on his ankle, and I saw him fall, and I knew, oh boy. And so I dashed down and finished the show the last night in Boston, and he had really torn his ankle up, and I ended up being on stage opening night in New York. And that was the only time in my entire, I was with that show 3 years. That was the only time I was ever on for one person. Really? I was all, other than the times that I was on for a principal role. But whenever I was on for a covering one of the ensemble, I was always on for 2 people or 3 people or 4 people, because with a cast that size, there's always going to be 2 or 3 people out, and so it was always, what do I do in this scene? Well,
if you want, I'll recreate another DreamGirls, and if you still want to be a cover and swing, I can put you in drag, have you fly above Effie and be like, and you're gonna love me, and then you just like float up into the sky, you're swinging away, and then Effie just like dips apart, and the audience goes,
right, me,
and you're like looking down, you're going up,
and I'm going,
I got you, baby,
ascending. All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
You know what? They're going to do DreamGirls next year at Starlight, because they could have this year. With Chris's permission, we'll bring you out for one performance, and you're just going to be in the sky, kid. It's an open-aired theater. So you'll just go.
So what? I'll be hovering from a helicopter.
Yeah. Over the helicopter. And then the helicopter, you take right back to the airport, and you can leave.
And I can just go right on back to New York.
Here you go.
I like it.
Milton has left the building.
Even though he never was in the building.
He was above the building. Right. Yeah. All right. We'll talk to Chris about that. I'm sure he'll let us do whatever he wants. Okay. That's awesome. Cover and swing.
Yeah.
Was that your debut? Was that your debut?
Yeah, that was my first Broadway show. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, so you did it then, obviously, and then, and this is a naive question on my part. When was the next revival? There was another one between that and the Apollo, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah. We actually, I left the show and I went on to do another show on tour called Sing Mahalia Sing, about the great Mahalia Jackson, the gospel singer, with Jennifer Holliday. Jennifer also left DreamGirls and was starring as Mahalia Jackson in Sing Mahalia Sing. We did that for about 6 months, and then I got a call saying that DreamGirls, well, at the last year that I was with DreamGirls on Broadway, they also opened the national company in LA. And they were, or I'm sorry, I think they were in Chicago first, and then they moved to LA and San Francisco. They were out west, and so my last year, they had 2 companies going, the Broadway company and the, I think they moved from Chicago to LA, and they sat in LA for quite a while. So we had 2 companies going, and then I left the show to go do Mahalia. I think the national show closed. The Broadway show closed, and then they were going to open another national. And I get a call asking if in fact, the very next day, which was very interesting, I was in Oakland, California, packing from Mahalia to come back home to New York. And I get a call from another company manager. Then Eric Engelson in the original had moved on to other things. So I got another call from another gentleman saying that we're starting another national tour of DreamGirls. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah. I said, when are you starting? Because I'm in California now. I had planned to stay for a little bit and hang out. And he says, oh, we'll be going into rehearsals in a couple of weeks. And I was like, that's excellent. I was going to stay out here a couple of weeks and then come back home.
Right.
To come back home to a job would be great. And so that's how. So that ended up going out for maybe, I think we were out almost. That was 84, 85 into 86, I think, a couple of maybe years. And then we were supposed to close in Paris, France, of all places. I may be fuzzy, but if I recollect correctly, that we were supposed to close in Paris, and then something, I don't know the technical things that happened, but we ended up coming back to Broadway. I think some show didn't happen or something, I don't know, but we ended up coming back. It was supposed to be briefly for, I think, 7 weeks or 8 weeks or something to Broadway. And it ended up being like 9 months. We ended up staying almost the whole year. So that was the first revival that I was a part of. And then
you were swing then too, or did you play like?
No, I was understudying, but I wasn't the swing then. I was doing the role of Wayne, which is many people don't know. He sings "Step Into the Bad Side" with the rest of the principals. And I covered all the principals, but I didn't have to worry about being a swing dancer for that one.
And what role? So, what was your, before we get into the Apollo experience? What was your favorite like role you played? Jimmy, or what was your?
You
Jimmy,
said
yeah,
it.
I knew it was Jimmy early. Yeah.
For
folks, you guys don't realize this guy that we're talking to, Milton Craig Nealy, is hands down, and this is, I'm not blowing smoke up his booty. He's literally one of the best dancers I've ever seen. And even later in his career, we'll talk later about Full Monty, but I'll say real quick, Full Monty, we're doing a show. We probably did it together 200 times or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And this guy would literally, I would sit there during Big Black Band. He would start off the Jeanette Showbiz number, and he would, no, his number, I'm sorry, Big Black Band, and he would start pirouetting like this all across the stage. And I would sit there because I'm in the dark, and I would count. Me and whoever was playing Jerry, we would count. And there was times he'll get up to 60, 70 times. And he would get literally within 4 inches of the edge of the stage. And Lane Stritch looked, I would count. I had nothing else to do.
So I'm glad you never told me that, because if you did, I probably wouldn't. I would have freaked out.
He started off as slow, and then it was like, and Lane Stritch looked at us one night, and she goes, "He's crazy." We'll talk more about that lady later. But
that was an experience, yes.
Oh gosh, yeah, that could take up 2 hours alone. If you guys don't know who Lane Stritch is, you got a lot of homework to do. She was a legend. Anyway,
a legend.
A legend. So talk to me about the Apollo experience. And
okay,
because that started off the Apollo, and then that went on tour, right?
Yes. Well, it actually, I'm a little fuzzy with all the details, because it actually, I wasn't involved with it until we did the Apollo version that turned into the tour. I played Marty, who was the manager of Jimmy Early, a few years older than
Danny Glover.
Couldn't do Jimmy. I was the Danny Glover role in the movie. Yeah. But they had actually done a tour. Or they had done a production, if you can believe this, of DreamGirls in Korea, in Korean.
What? That's what they're doing with Kinky Boots too. I'm like, what?
Oh, really? Yeah, that was my exact. Yeah, I thought, wow, how do you do that? So I wasn't involved in any of that. I had heard about it. And so then when they brought it back here and they said they're going to do a tour, in fact, I was actually in Milwaukee doing a regional production of a show that a friend of mine, Kevin Ramsey, who was actually one of the Moes, who has now gotten on the directing end of things. He's smart, and now he's directing and no longer spinning and twisting and turning and splitting. But Kevin had written a show about, he's from New Orleans, and he had written a musical about Katrina, the terrible storm that hit, and so I was doing that, and I heard that they were doing this Korean production of DreamGirls was now coming to America, and they were switching it back, over to, but it was the same, pretty much the same show, but all new. They were adding, since the film, they added the song "Listen" from that Beyonce did, and they were kind of, and I was a little scared because I thought, that's my baby, the original, don't if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. But then it was a gig also. And just as a joke, I thought, because I'm far too old, I'm not, they're not gonna, they're hiring babies. And as a joke, I said to my agent, well, listen, throw my hat in the ring, if they, fully thinking that they would go nice, but tell the old man, and I ended up getting a call to come in on. I had to fly back into New York on a day off on a Monday, and sure enough, they were all babies waiting to audition, and I went in and I actually auditioned for Jimmy, and I came home. I actually flew in on Monday morning. Ran home, from the airport, put on I had these pair of, which I still have, from the original DreamGirls, because at that time they were quite popular, leather pants.
Oh,
I had a pair of tight leather pants. And I put, I squeezed, I Vaseline my legs up, and I
can see
squeezed
the
into
curl coming down.
And I actually put them on, and I went in, and at that time I was dyeing my hair, so I didn't have to worry about the gray. But I went in and auditioned for Jimmy, and but I saw all these babies waiting to go in and audition, and I thought, this will be a joke, but I'm going to go have a good time. And I'm going to mention Marty, because that's the only thing that I would be right for. Marty being the agent, and he doesn't have to be he should be an older man. But I didn't go in for Marty. I went in for Jimmy, had a great time, and I get a call a couple of days later saying that they weren't, had a great time. It was very nice of you to come in and audition, but they really don't want to. And I was expecting him to say, they were going to go younger. What he said was they didn't want to hire anyone from the original company because this is a brand new, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, with me too.
I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Because
we hire quality.
Yeah, we're actors. I mean, we do. I actually said to my agent, I said, please, if you don't like me, please tell them. I understand, I'm an actor. You get yeses, you get nos. And I said, but I don't buy that. We're not hiring anyone from the original production. It's like we do what we're hired to do.
Yeah.
And but at that time, I had done a zillion productions of DreamGirls over the years. And I said to my agent, please tell them, it's your production. I don't have anything to, I'm just a hired help. And actually, they called me, but actually the director, Bobby Longbottom.
Bobby Longbottom,
he actually called me, and we had about a good 45-minute conversation. Some of this, telling stories and talking. And I said to him, I reassured him. I said, listen, I'm not that person that sits, on the sideline and goes, puff, puff. When we did it on Broadway, we didn't do it like that. Well, Michael Bennett actually didn't. I'm not that, which is what he said. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that's what I didn't want, because this is a different production.
It's also the reason you work nonstop. Not only you're phenomenal and talented, but your sense of your attitude towards this business is, and that little story what you just said, which is genuine, that's the one of the greatest things I look up. Just do your job.
Just do your job, absolutely, and that's all I've ever done. That's all I ever will do. I'm not going to go hang out and have drinks with you and do all those things. I mean, I may, but I'm not going to do it to get the job.
No, never.
I want to come in and I want to read for you, and if you like what I can do, we'll go from there. But I'm not doing it for friendships and those kinds of things. I just never. That's not my thing.
I always say. I remember Steve Martin said. They said, "How do you make it in Hollywood?" And he goes, "Be good." Just be good.
Just be good.
You don't have to go to parties. You don't have to go kiss ass. You don't have to be good. When you get the opportunity, be good.
Same. That's how I. And don't be a jerk. I always say.
And a lot of kids, and you can attest to this too. And this is not knocking on anybody by any stretch of means, but a lot of these kids or babies, as you like to call them nowadays, they don't understand that, and they get golden opportunities, and they complain about a dressing room assignment, or they complain about, or they blow their voices out and they're calling out all the time. You see it all the time.
I see it all the time. I used to make a joke about, and I'm not going to call any names, but I used to make a joke for years and years saying that, oh boy, these kids, they'll call out if they break a fingernail. Well, I'm going to tell you, I was in a company of a show some years back where one of the young ladies actually, well, she didn't quite break a fingernail, but she went and got a manicure rather than come in to do the matinee. And I thought, all these years I've been joking and saying, and somebody actually did something quite similar to that, you know.
Oh, can you imagine Jerry Mitchell?
Oh, I think somebody.
Oh yeah,
somebody's
Let me go there. So
what
Marcus Tobias. Let me just introduce him real quick. Milton, he's like a mini Titus. He's like a younger Titus Burgess. You know, baby Titus Burgess, right?
Yes, yes.
So Marcus is a big fan. He's a talented kid. He's got a great voice. And one of the questions I saw earlier, and Marcus, if I screwed it up, let me know. But he asked about the 2000, I believe, 1 concert, and now he's asking about the DreamGirls concert in 2001. And then he goes, "What was one of your favorite?" There we go. Original dreams that you cherish.
Yeah. I can't tell you anything about the concert because that was right when we were beginning the Full Monty tour. So I was in. I don't even know if we were still in the city. I think we had already gone on the road when they did the. So I wasn't there, so I didn't see it. Yeah. Sorry, Marcus. I'm sure they had a great time. I had many friends that did it. Lilius White was one of the. I think she did Effie in that. I did it with Lilius a zillion times with different companies. Norm Lewis, but I didn't actually see it. So we were in rehearsal or already gone on in production. We were in Canada.
And then he got a question.
Memories of the original. Ooh, that's a hard one because there are so many. I have so many wonderful memories. It was such a great cast, and we had such fun. I'll tell you a quick story. One of my fondest memories. Brenda Braxton, who Joe, you know. I don't know, Marcus, if you know Brenda Braxton. She's been around the Broadway scene for years. Beautiful. She keeps her hair cut that very close cut and just beautiful.
It's called on time. That hair's on time.
It is on time. Is that what your kids are saying nowadays?
That's what babies are saying.
Yes. Well, Brenda was also, I mentioned earlier, she was the female swing, and before we came to Broadway, we were doing our out of town tryouts in Boston, and I think I said already about I was on the last night in Boston. Well, Brenda, I don't think was ever on as the female swing, and so Brenda during half hour, when they come around and collect the valuables of the performers, Brenda used to collect the valuables, and Brenda with her wonderful crazy imagination created, or didn't create, but dressed. She had a spud potato. None of you are probably old enough to remember, unless maybe in the movie. Excuse me, the animated Toy Story. The Mr. Potato Head, that's probably as far back as you guys. But there used to be a toy called Mr. Potato Head, which you could put the eyes in and the lips and the ears. And Brenda fashioned this real spud. And she put a little necklace on and little earrings. And she called the spud valuable. Valuable was her name. And she would put
it in a plastic bag.
Yes, she would go around and she would collect everyone's valuables, and then the very last person to go into the bag was valuable. And one night we hear this. We thought somebody had been stabbed or fallen down the steps or something. We hear this blood-curdling scream. This is during half hour. We all run out of our dressing rooms. Brenda's in fake tears on the ground in the corridor screaming, Valuable's been kidnapped. And one of the girls, well, we didn't know at the time, someone had kidnapped Valuable and left a ransom note. If you ever want to see April again, you'll pay this price. And periodically, throughout the whole time that we were in Boston, there were these terrible letters and photographs. Now, this is before cameras, and this is where the Polaroids that you had to shake dry, and there would be Polaroids sent to the theater in envelopes, manila envelopes, and there would be pictures of Value Able with a gag on her.
So that damn potato was sitting in a bag on top of people's watches and wedding rings and stuff. You know me, I would have taken that potato and just like not ruined it, but went to like McDonald's and brought her French fries.
Listen, that's part of the story as well. One of the terrible letters that Brenda received was a picture of some French fries, and so we didn't know if we assumed Val had been killed and turned into sent to McDonald's or something. We get all the way to New York, and this goes on during the rehearsal in New York, and we actually had a trial for Value Able. And we
are you serious?
We had a trial. It was set for the lunch period of a certain day. So we started it at our lunch, break. And Michael Bennett, Michael Peters, Bob Avian, the choreographers and directors, saw us that day having this mock trial and canceled the rest of the rehearsals for that day and allowed us to do this whole trial thing. That was hilarious.
Oh, brilliant.
And all these witnesses were coming up, and I saw so-and-so sneaking and took her. And as it turns out, one of the girls ended up taking Value Able. And Val was actually there at the trial. And by that time, poor thing, she'd been through, the ringer. She was shriveled and
that's so good to like build cast camaraderie and break up the
we had a ball. We had a ball, and there were many things like that. But that was one of the stories that's one of my fondest memories. And it wasn't on stage. I'm sorry, Marcus, if you were asking something on stage, but
hey, the best stories happen off stage. Trust me.
Happen off stage, yeah.
So I think we'll bring in Essence in a second. I don't know whatever Chris wants to do, but I think that'd be good. But before we get to that, Milton, what do you think, or what was your take, or on the movie?
I loved it.
J Huds and
I loved it. I wasn't sure, because there have been many many plays that have been turned into films, and
of course.
and you go, they should have left it alone, with the exception, I think Jesus Christ Superstar was brilliant. I think as a film and the play, and of course Funny Girl with Barbara Streisand. I mean, they were both brilliant, but a lot of others that I won't mention. Sometimes, so I was nervous. Who ever heard of Jennifer Hudson? At that time, I had heard that Jennifer, even though she was older, but we thought, who was going to sing that song? Through the magic of Hollywood, can't they do something and make her younger? Which she still looks fantastic. She probably could have done it. But so we're thinking, well, who's going to do that? Nobody on earth can sing that song. Well, we now know, Hudson was fantastic. But long story short, I saw it, and I actually saw it. Henry Krieger, who wrote the music, who composed it. We've been friends since the beginning, and Henry actually invited me to a press thing. So I sat there with the press, and it was the second time in my life I've ever seen a movie audience stand up and applaud.
Oh, wow.
The first time I ever saw was in a movie audience where they actually stood and applaud was at the end of the Wiz movie, when Lena Horne sang If You Believe.
Oh, wow.
The crowd went nuts and stood up and applauded. I had never seen that in my life, in a movie. And the second time was Jennifer Hudson. And I'm telling you, her performance of that song in the movie DreamGirls, they went nuts. And this was the press. This wasn't even, it hadn't been released yet. And, jaded press people.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's like, is that like super fans or something?
Puff, puff, I've seen it all. But they, they stood up, not only applauded, but stood up, And Henry and I sat there like, wow. And I told Henry, I said, I think you got something here again, buddy.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
No luck needed.
Exactly. It's like, I hope you're ready to move out to Hollywood now.
That's where we go like this. We go, cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Exactly.
Chris, you want to bring in the star of your DreamGirls?
I totally would, but she's having technical difficulties, man. She's gonna put her question in the comments on the comment section.
There she is. My connection isn't working.
All right, I'm out.
All right, bye. My connection isn't working right now for some reason, so I'm just going to ask in the comments. All right, Essence Bell.
Okay, well, so sorry, Essence, but yes, please ask away.
I'll ask Essence a question. What role are you playing in DreamGirls?
Oh yeah, I assumed it was Effie, but I'm not sure.
I don't know either. Hopefully it's not Marty, but you never know.
Yeah, 2020. Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know why. Every time I audition for that, Rent, Color Purple, I'm always typed out. I don't know why.
What? That's strange.
Yeah,
that is so strange.
Can we not open up our heads and think of different type of choices and casting and
Hey, ask Judi Dench in the film Cats.
All right, Essence.
Oh, here we go.
When was the moment throughout the rehearsal process of the show, or even throughout the run of your show, where you realized how important it was to really understand and connect with whatever character you were playing at the time, and how did that moment change the way you performed going forward?
Well, I'll tell you,
big question.
Yeah, that's a big one. There again, there wasn't one moment, because I was covering so many people, and I was so terrified that the only thing that I was trying to think to do was, and I had never, as I said before, I had been an understudy for one person once in my career. I'd never covered at that time 8 people. And so I was just trying to learn all of the choreo, and this was during rehearsal, of course, so they were changing things daily. And at that time, I remember, Essence, I certainly wouldn't dare ask how old you were, but we used to have tape recorders, portable tape recorders. You press play, and we didn't have phones or all these the things that we have now. And so I brought my tape recorder to work with me every day, and I brought my little tablet, and I would make notes. And the easiest thing to do was you try to write it down, but then you would say, okay, within 5 minutes, this is a change. Line 3 in your tablet is now your enter stage left instead of stage right. There was a lot of that going on. So there wasn't really a lot of time to really focus in on the characters. It was just getting the choreography and getting the blocking. And there are some photographs, because I didn't know what I was doing. I thought Michael Bennett's the director, Michael Peters is the choreographer, Bob Avion is the assistant choreographer. They're all sitting in the front of the rehearsal period at 890 Broadway. We had the 7th floor, and then we had the entire studio. They don't
hotter than heck up there.
Yeah. I don't think they rehearse anymore. Do they still rehearse there anymore? I don't know.
I don't know, but I just remember back in the day, it was sweat.
Well, Michael owned the building at that time, But I remember, and I would sit right at Michael Bennett's feet. There are photographs. I've seen photographs of him directing, and I'm sitting right there with my tablet, which is hilarious because I would never do that now. But I didn't know any better. I thought he's directing, sit next to him. He's giving he's giving out the directions. So I just, did what I had to do and wrote everything down, and came home and did everything that we had done that day. And then you go back the next day, and a lot of it would change, and you just keep going until you get it. Oh, I see you have another one. She's playing Laurel.
Laurel, yeah.
She's playing Laurel. Oh, have a great time. Loretta Devine did the original Laurel on Broadway, and she's gone on to great success in Hollywood. Loretta Devine, and Loretta actually was, I think, the only original cast member in the film. Loretta played, cannot remember. I know she was a singer. Forgive me. But she was in the original film. I mean, she was in the film, and I cannot remember the role that she played. But she sang a song or a bit of a song. I think she was the only one of the the DreamGirls in the motion picture.
So Essence goes, wow, that's so different. I just know that now we have so much character development throughout the rehearsal process. So I just want to know what it was like back when you were in the show, like when
back
they
in
were
the
all
olden,
building up.
Well, in the olden days,
like when Effie was building her role, and whoever's playing, or you just said Laurel building her roles, because like you and I did one of the original workshops at Kinky Boots, and you see what that's like, and then it like to what I finished, it was a totally different thing. But I don't know, maybe I think that's what we're trying to answer S's question. Well, like seeing all the development, because like sometimes you do a show and it's already been done before, or say a lot of times with Kinky and Full Monty, the movie was already done first.
Right.
Not well. Well,
you didn't like the movie?
I love Full Monty, the movie, and then Kinky Boots was good, but it was just a different change to me. But I loved them both. I think the shows and the movies were totally different, but both awesomely good.
Yeah, I actually saw the Full Monty. I was living in London actually. At the time, I was doing Miss Saigon over there, and I remember seeing it. And of course, there was no play yet, no musical. But the film came out, and I remember seeing it, and I thought, oh, what a charming little,
little
film,
ultra cute little indie films.
Indie film that, and I remember saying that America will never see because it was so British. And it was so, all the colloquialisms, I was like, America would never understand what they're saying. And it wasn't in London. It was in Sheffield, I think, England. So it was Sheffield, like England, really, really, really specific to England. To that region, I thought to that region of the world. And I thought it'll never get, and they made a liar out of me because it ended up being a global hit. But who knew that it was going to end up turning into,
what it was.
The musical.
Marcus, you said, I just wanted to Essence questions.
Yeah, I just want to go to Essence to add to what you were saying. Also, the reason I also did not connect into working on the characters, because as I said before, they had done many workshops of Big Dreams, and so everybody pretty much the principals pretty much knew, and a lot of the ensemble members also had done the workshops, so they knew the story, they knew their characters, they knew all that stuff. So they were now working on things like advancing the characters and different things like that, but they pretty much knew who their characters were. As I said, I was basically just trying to get the steps and the choreography and the blocking. So that stuff had already been done before I sort of got involved.
Hey, was the real quick opening nights to me are so much fun, and all the pomp and circumstance goes with that. Was what was that like? The opening night of that?
Oh my
DreamGirls
God!
On Broadway original. Was it like a party to all parties?
To end all parties, and not not to toot my own horn, but I've been to some parties that Cameron McIntosh has thrown. Five Guys Named Moe. I've been to other
toot your horn, buddy. Toot your horn.
But I've been to some cast parties, and Michael Bennett, he took 890 Broadway and turned it into a carnival. From the time you step off the elevator on the 7th floor, Michael was famous for wearing red baseball caps. And they handed everybody a red baseball cap. And as you walked to the big studio that had most of everything, where they made all the speechifying and all of which was set up with microphones and, portable stages and the whole thing, and spotlights. But as you were walking, there were people that dressed in the old time with the little, what do you call ice cream hops, and people, hot dogs, making hot dogs, popcorn, people making popcorn, handing it out in the little things that they used to with little stripes, peanuts, all these, and then in the studio they had this huge cake in the shape of a record. That said DreamGirls, and I'll never forget. Michael Bennett took his hand and just cut the first piece with his arm.
Did he really?
Yes, but it just they transformed. Yeah,
real quick,
Yes.
say hi to my dad real quick. Remember,
Hey, Pop.
Remember Milton and Full Monty? Hi, Milton. How are you?
Yeah, it's when Joe and I shared the suite. We had the kitchen between our two in Lincolnshire. Yeah. How's it going?
Great first ever, huh?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. All right, Starlight. This is a legend, Lynn Coots.
He doesn't look a day older. What is it with what's in your family? I'm getting older, and your dad looks younger than you. What's happening here?
They're the greatest.
You got some Benjamin Button thing going.
Yeah, he stopped at 45, and that was it.
Yeah, I'll say. Absolutely.
Everything you hear. All right.
Good to see you, Brett.
Barney Miller. He's going to watch Barney Miller. Matter of fact, yeah. So Milton people. Oh wait, Marcus, you had a question too, and it scanned up and it went away real quick. She wasn't named a character, but she's saying, "I miss you, old friend."
Thank you. Yes,
that's
what it was. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you. Yeah.
Marcus, you got good internet. You should chime in. Also, let me tell you, folks, my boy Milton Craig Nealy is originally from Chicago.
Yes.
And we're in Rockford, which is about 70 some miles away from Chicago. And Milton has the distinction of being in the original, well, the only Blues Brothers movie as one of the dancers.
There's two, actually. They did another one.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
That I wasn't a part of, but yeah, they did it some years later. Like
I'm glad you weren't in the second one. That one sucked.
Yeah, I saw it.
Milton, I give you 45 seconds about that. I thought it was awesome.
That was a dream come true.
Yeah.
I was actually working in a shoe store as a shoe salesman. I was a shoe salesman. The second one doesn't matter. Yeah, right. I was working in a shoe salesman, and you know, as they say, you know, beating the pavement, and you know, just kind of in Chicago at that time, there wasn't much. It wasn't a theater town, still not really a theater town.
Yeah.
You can actually, I have friends there now that are actually, you know, they're filming a lot of TV series and things there. So you can actually make a living as an actor. When I was there, you had to have a day job and do community theater and nightclubs and anything you could get involved in. And so I was working as a shoe salesman. Joe, I think I lost you. I don't know if I'm still on the air here, but I'm going to keep talking. And I went to an audition. They were talking about this film. There you are. This film called The Blues Brothers, which I knew about, you know, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Live. They had done those they created those two characters on the show. And so I just went to the audition and I got hired. We were supposed to do this. If you've seen the film, the scene where Ray's Music Exchange, where these people are out dancing in the street, that was the scene that I was involved in. Did a bit of gymnastics. I did a flip into the frame, and then we went into a whole number. The interior was actually done in LA, so we never saw any of that. We filmed it in November, and in Chicago. And Joe, you know,
in November. All of our audience knows.
Okay, the whole audience, you guys know you're there. Wearing short sleeves and shorts and the skirts and things. It's my favorite scene. Yeah, I'm the kid that does a flip into the scene with, I think, blue and white gym shoes on or something, but everything moves so fast, so don't blink or you'll miss me. But I ended up meant to do that. We didn't know what was going on inside. There was no inside. That we were just outside of a place that the Hollywood people came in and wrote Ray's Music Exchange on top of this store and sawed some trees down and moved light poles, so they could film it. And whenever a plane would go over or a cloud they'd have to stop, and we'd stand there freezing, and they'd bring blankets and things because winter was coming. And we finally finished it. We did it, and then I got a call from the choreographer saying that he'd like to take me and two other dancers out to LA to do another scene, which ended up being the scene in the church, which I ended up doing some trampoline work that I had never been. They asked, who does trampoline work? My hand went up before I knew it. I don't know why, because I was dumb and stupid and young. And they cut most of it, but I do have a tour that I did that survived in in the film,
That's
and
awesome.
another flip that I did. But I ended up going out to LA and doing 2 scenes, so that was great. But that was a wonderful experience. That was a whole other.
Oh yeah.
That was a Hollywood thing, you know, and that.
Oh
that
yeah.
wonderful.
Well, I'm gonna wrap this up here pretty quick. I just want to real quick share with our audience. Milton and I, like we've talked about 100 times.
Lynn,
tonight.
I think is it Lynn? Lynn is asking, will I ever come to Rockford? I would love to.
Miss
Is
Johnson.
it Lynn Marie? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was
Jill Marie.
Oh, Jill Marie. Sorry, Jill.
Shouldn't you have glasses? Shouldn't you have glasses?
I would love to. Who knows? In this business, I could well, not tomorrow with this pandemic, but you never.
Well, maybe next year.
Maybe
next year you'll come out here and watch the DreamGirls. You can meet everybody.
Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be fantastic. Fantastic. And good luck.
Milton and I did a Full Monty a bunch of times, and different. I don't know, 4 or 5 times together. But
kids, I've seen him naked.
Vice versa. We shared a dressing room together. Remember that night that? Oh, okay, let me talk. Okay, hold on. So.
Collect your thoughts, Joe.
You know me, no Coots. But we mentioned her earlier, Lane Stritch, who's passed away 5 years ago. Whatever.
Yeah.
She was if you don't know who she is, she's a legend.
Oh yeah,
legend beyond legends. I encourage you all to Google her name, and you can learn so much about her.
Yeah.
And we got offered, Milton and I, to do Full Monty at the Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey. And Paper Mill is one of the most prestigious regional houses in the world.
Country.
I mean,
or in the world,
or whatever.
Maybe.
But now they do on great productions, but it's also so close to the city. So all of us that live in the city and the Broadway people, it's easy to commute back and forth. It's not like you're leaving to go to Texas to do a regional job, and you can still audition for TV shows during the day, and you can do the show at night. It's kind of like being on Broadway, but you got to go 40 minutes, in a van. In a van. Oh, yeah.
Right.
So anyway, Stritch was at the end of her retirement, like end of her life, actually.
Yeah, she
and
died.
She wanted to do one more thing. She actually ended up doing a couple things after that, but she wanted to do one more thing. Yeah. So she wanted to do Full Monty, played Jeanette Brewmeister, which is the old piano player. And Milton and her and his character of Horse and her, they have a little, they're buddies.
Yeah.
So we're coming to opening night, and we had never had a full run through of the show ever. We're in the studio in New York every day. We'd always get up to her number, and it would stop because she couldn't remember what she was saying. And she was such a perfectionist that she would just flip out. She couldn't handle it. And she couldn't remember words, and she was losing her memory and all this kind of stuff. So we literally get to the night before opening. We still, as a company, have not run the show at all. And if you know anything about Full Monty, the ending is kind of important. There's a little bit of a light effect, and we're all up there butt-ass. Well, we have our boots on, and that's it. That's all we're wearing, right?
And our hats for time.
Yeah. So it's like important that we get through the show. It's very important. At least especially not for us. I could care less. Milton could care less. But it's more the tech crew that really needs that opportunity.
I was going to say, if there was never a cue that was more important in the history of theater, it's that last cue.
That one. Yeah. Especially in a house like Paper Mill, which is like, Paper Mill's what, 1,500 seats? I mean, not even 1,000 seats maybe?
It's pretty big house.
Yeah, but it's like still small compared to tour houses or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
So the night before opening, we're still at the theater at about 12:30 in the morning, right? Milton, remember this? We couldn't get through. She was losing her marbles. Yeah. She's in her dressing room. Finally, the director goes, cut, because equity rules, you can only rehearse so long, and now you're getting into overtime and meal breaks, and it's just financial fiasco. So Milton and I's dressing room is right next to hers. And so we hear her in there, and the dresser is pulling like pins out of her hair and took her wig off, and she's standing there, and she's like just disgruntled. So I looked at Milton. We didn't say a word to each other. And if you remember this different or you have something to add, please. But we looked to each other and we're like, we're going in. Because everybody was afraid to talk to her.
Yeah.
And Milton and I had done the show with Sally Struthers. We did it with at the Merritt Lincolnshire. So we had a history of the show. Yeah. I did a tour. Milton did a tour. It's like, we know the show. So we walk into that room and I said, Elaine, cut it. Cut it.
Yeah, you
I
did.
said, you know who you're talking because her song was all about like reminiscing about like Frank Sinatra and no
her
power and all these
past,
people, her past. And
Right,
Milton goes, baby, you know all these people. You've met them. You've worked with them. You know them. If you go up, don't worry about it. We got your back. Don't worry about it. And if you remember, Milton, she starts crying and fell right to her chest.
into your arms. Yeah.
And lost it. And then she pops up. She gets her thoughts together. She goes, you guys done this show before? And we're like, yeah. And she goes, who played my part? And we go, Sally Struthers. She goes, I thought she died. So then the next day, we all leave. We get in the van, go back to the city. The next day, we show up. That chick goes on stage, packed house, with every freaking Broadway, person,
Right.
fanatic, anybody you see Elaine Stritch do something one more time. And she gets up there in the middle of her big number, which she never could remember from day one rehearsals till that night. She ends up taking a damn encore in her own song. Nobody's ever done it. It'd be like Milton stopping Big Black Man and going back and doing it again.
And it wasn't written into the show. So it was all, they had to, the orchestra
the conductor
had,
sitting there like
conductor,
this, like,
back to page, bar 32. Yeah, it was
and
phenomenal.
The audience went nuts. And we're all standing there, and we're literally. And I got a photo of that. And she gets done with it. We're all standing. Yeah. We're standing there. Well, if you Google our names, I think it's on there. It's everywhere.
Oh, okay.
But we're standing there, and I just got like goosebumps. And we're all looking at her like, she couldn't remember a damn thing. So then the director and a couple other people gave Milton and I credit for getting her out of her funk.
Yeah. You're right, Joe. I mean, everybody was afraid to go in, and
not us.
because she's such a big personality on and off stage. In fact, she cracked. I don't think she ever knew my name. It was always Horace. Hey, Horace.
Yeah.
And she, she always broke the deadly. She always had notes for us all, and it was a very tight, small space, and so everybody was, there was no, I have to change, and I'm a man and you're a woman. Everybody had to do what you had to do, and outside of the full Monty, which was written into the show, but she was abroad. You know what I mean? She would come down if she had something to talk to you about. I remember she would come, whatever state of dress she was in. If she had to tell you something,
she'd walk on the stage.
Rollers in the hair, her underwear. She had it was a piece. I don't know what you call it. The bra was connected to the corset, whatever. I don't know. With the whole, one piece thing, but curlers, slippers, whatever. She's like, oh, hey, Horace, listen, I got a note for you on whatever scene we were doing, blah blah blah. And I just thought, what a broad. I love her. She just, no time for pretense. We're all in the business. We know what we're doing. I got to talk to you right now. I don't have to put a robe on. I don't have to, we're all grown here.
We were backstage, and I'll end with this because I know that we ran pretty long. So we'll end with we real quick, and you guys will love this. Christine Ebersol came to the show. She's a big Broadway Tony Award winner.
She's on a television show now. If any of you are watching that, Somebody Loves Abishola or something.
I have no idea.
You remember Mike Loves Molly?
Oh, Mike and Molly, yeah.
Mike and the guy who was Mike.
Yeah, with the Billy. Billy.
Yeah, Billy something. He's got a new TV show called Somebody, whatever it's called. So if any of you guys know that show.
She came out the paper mill to see us in the show. We get on the show. Now, you guys know the show. At the end of the show, we have no clothes on. So Milton and I in the dressing room, standing there with nothing on but the radio. And I think Milton just took off his robe. I just took it off mine. I'm going
to put on your underwear or something. Yeah.
And the door opens up, boom, and it's Elaine Stritch and Christine Ebersol, and we're standing there in our
birthday suits
with the radio. And Elaine could care less. And Christine's like, what?
He's like, Christine, I'd like you to meet. And we're
Stritch thought we had on a full tuxedo. She didn't care. Well, Milton, this has been a pleasure. I love you so much. I'm going to call.
Love you too.
Let's check up more. I get back in the city, we'll hang out. But
yeah, absolutely. Because you're
back
in
yeah, I'll be back.
You're back.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. It depends on how things go.
We'll talk about that off air. But I just really appreciate you doing this, and I hope everybody in the audience realizes what a legend this guy is, and It's been so much fun. So
Thank
I love
you guys.
Appreciate
Love
my
you
best
too.
to Doug.
I will do that.
We'll see you soon. Chris, you want to chime in, or is that it?
That's it, man.
Tomorrow night at 7. Now, what's happening tomorrow night at 7?
Well, if you
it's
want
gonna
to
be
tune
game
in,
night,
trivia night has nothing to do with you, but you're free to watch.
Oh, okay.
Milton,
All right.
Milton, this is DreamGirls
You're
week.
welcome, Marcus.
This is DreamGirls
Wait.
week, so everything is kind of
You're welcome, Essence.
is going around DreamGirls. If you tune in on Saturday, we're doing a teaser of DreamGirls, and that's going to feature everybody in our cast, like kind of a cabaret.
Oh, fantastic!
I know,
and
awesome.
that's tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to put it in my, because I got the stretch thing going on. I got to write. If I don't write it down,
you got mine like
great
a sieve.
All right, guys. Milton, hang out with us afterwards. Just in the don't leave anywhere so you can say goodbye properly. But everybody else, thank you. This has been awesome. Thanks to Milton.
Guys.
Thank you, Joe.
And all the best.
All have a great week.
Thank you, guys.
Virtually.